I'm going to call this video, What is Tithing Really? So, today, went up nice and early to head into town and had 308 mils of rain yesterday, and we've had about at least 40 more this morning with a rain gauge, so we'd be up to 350 mils since last Saturday. Anyway, I'm finally documenting it. It's funny, since I've started documenting the weather and the times when I've checked it, it's given me something to have a talk about with common folk. Isn't that interesting? Oh, what you got to do to fit in. Anyway, so I have had God hounding me recently, my angels of God, and it's not that I'm a tired ass in any sense. I love tithing. Love it. Because I kind of like, there's a feel-good factor about it. And it's not about me. We're talking, putting some food together and going and helping a homeless person and then taking video cameras of it and putting that person's face all over. Look, that's just trying to, make your ego feel good. That's not tithing. That's dickheadedry. And look, we're all guilty of it in one sense or another. I was trying to show that stuff as an example before it was cool. Usually always ahead of time with things anyway. It is what it is. Just tithing is doing those little acts of random kindness, arcs, and it's funny as it's raining at the moment, we need some acts of random kindness, where it's not expected, they're unexpected gifts, right? So, it is written in the Bible, God kind of expects 10% of what you earn to be tithed. But if you're struggling with being a tight ass, you'd never understand, why am I giving away 10% of my money? And it's like, well, I'm going to navigate this with some freelancing. I'm going to give the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit's going to have his way. And the Lord's going to conduct this. And typically when I do this, we come to a succinct conclusion of the specific outcome of what we're trying to achieve. Right, so I'm just going to act off the inspiration of God. Tithing. Today, see, I got a bit of a debt in my tithe account where I've been saving a bit too much cash. And God's like, come on, you got to go and give some away. And it wasn't my fault. I was actively doing my duties back to humanity, but it turned out that what was going on, about 6 months ago, it turns out that my tithes, the privilege was being abused. And so, all of a sudden, and the way I was tithing, it forced me into a stress where I was smoking and all these other things. And so, God cut that life's loss for me, and I've been in a state of separation since, right? And no longer smoke. And the problem is I no longer have social media. I no longer have connection to the outer world. I don't have a woman in my life or kids. I've got pets. And but what's going on is it hasn't stopped me from working full bore, and I've probably made more money since then than I've made. So not only did I get pulled up, I was going fine when I was tithing, I was going fine, but when I stopped, from then until now, I've never earned more than what I have. So all of a sudden I got 6 months down the track, and it's well, things are looking pretty healthy. Fantastic. Now, so God's a little bit oi, faggot, you're going to give some back, or you're just going to hog it all to yourself? And I'm well, I'm not a pig and I'm not greedy. So I've been sitting here for the last couple of weeks, and I'm you're telling me to tithe, and I'll open up the Bible each night and there'll be another verse and another verse and another verse, and I was I get it, so you want me to tithe. And yeah, I think I needed to understand in my own way what tithing is. So, I'm a return of acts of random kindness also. So I'm going to put that one into context here because it can have its own meaning and its own context. There is feel-good factor in it, but it's a way of creating grace, right? So was it 6 months ago? No, 9 months ago. Maybe 9 months ago. 6 months ago is when God removed all the narcissists out of my life. It's probably about 3 months before that. Look, I was working my guts out, but in a manner where I had no work to life balance, and I got to the point where I was like, my pets are suffering. But and things have happened since then. People have died, contracts have shifted, things have eased off. I've got motorbikes working. I'll get to that there in a sec. So I'll give you a bigger picture, and you're going to grab this. You'll grab tithing by the story I'm going to give you, right? So my pets were suffering, and I had a concern at the time. It was like alarm bells were ringing. If you don't pull up soon and look after your animals, something's going to happen. Anyway, it was at a point where I had completed a specific task, and for the first time in, I think it was like 18 months at that time, I could have a break for a weekend and not have to think about things. I'd hit a milestone, a benchmark. And on that weekend, I was like, cool, I'm going to let my hair down. So for the first time in that period, I was like, I'm not leaving the house for 2 days. I go outside. 2 days later, Tank went missing. That idiot. That dog is the epitome of a shit-infested, crusty arsehole. He is an arsehole. Like yesterday, for example, he needed to take a shit. He went and took it right next to the wombat hole. And he'll always take a shit where I'm going to walk. It's like he is the troll of life. Anyway, so he went missing. Now, when he went missing, I thought, that's it, he's gone. Like, a dog like him going missing, he'd be on the other side of the country by now. He'd be like Red Dog out of that movie. Like, he's already gone around the world. Like, he's how do I say this? A very intense dog that needs a lot of attention. So I thought he was kind of getting enough with me, always being on machinery, always going on drives, always doing these other things. But the one thing that I wasn't doing with him or Amirati was walking them. So I just didn't have the friggin' time. So before he went missing, look, it was I think a month before that, I had already known that there was an issue, and I purchased a treadmill for Amirati, because I was like, look, Tank, he's right, but Amirati, I haven't got the time. And Amirati's a big dog, so I was like, if I can't walk him because I don't have the time to, because I wasn't getting home until 8 o'clock at night, if I could pull the treadmill out and give him his 10-15 minutes, there's a good start, right? So after Tank went missing, he went missing for about 6 weeks, and it turns out that he turned back up at the pound, or at the local dog shelter. I didn't know that. And they told me the story, and with the story, like, there was a grace that took place where I managed to get Tank back for a fraction of the price that I should have paid, right? And since then, I have completely gone into self-love mode, where daily, even when it's raining now, to be honest with you, because I've got all the wet weather gear, those dogs get walked every day. I mow tracks around the hills, and I make sure to do a walk for Ammirati. So even if I don't want to walk, it doesn't matter if I've done the gym, it doesn't matter if I've had a big day, it doesn't matter. I will always go for a walk, so Ammirati gets a walk. And if he dies, he dies. It doesn't matter, he's going for a walk, because walking's good. You know, it keeps him going, because otherwise he likes to sleep a lot and not move. So, that machine, a $2,000 machine, it's done nothing since Tank returned. And that's what I'm saying. It's been 8 months, something like that. And it's just sat in the shed. And like, I thought about doing something with it ages ago. And I know someone was just like, no, hold on to it, sort of thing. And I'm like, look, you know, you're in a position where, like, if you want something, you just go and buy it. Well, here it is. So I've got another Ammirati turning up, but like, this one's going to be a stud dog, and he's going to be pedigree, and he's going to be the top of his lineage. I've got the pick of a litter turning up for me to look after. His name's Ramesses, bringer of war. So Skystorm Ramesses, bringer of war. He's like legitimate African Bow. Seed has come in from South Africa. Okay, top-notch dog. And yeah, we're talking about commitments. Taking things seriously and being committed. I'm not going to have another dog turn up into my life, especially when I had this problem with the dogs that I've got. So the reason why I've got this other dog turning up is because, unfortunately, I'm going to have to get Ammirati put down at some point. And that will happen when he tells me he wants it. He's got some genetic deficiencies. Not dueling banjo deficiencies. Kind of, well, yeah, some genetic dispositions. He's got some disabilities anyway. So, and he's full of spirit. He loves being alive, and he's got a beautiful temperament. And I know that his destiny is to train this pup. And I can't survive without Ammirati, because he keeps, the chickens alive, and he keeps things safe because he's the guard dog. So I was like, well, if I know that I could get another year out of him, why would I not get another pup and allow him to train the pup, so that by the time he's gone, the pup just continues on? So it's like ease in, ease out, wax on, wax off. So here we are. I'm not going to compromise my routine where I don't take these dogs for a walk now. These dogs go for a walk every day if possible. If I miss a day, I'll make the walk longer the next day. We always go for a walk, and the cats go for a walk too. And a major part of like what I'm dealing with at the moment is I bought a baby sling the other day. You know those ones where newborn mothers, guess why? It's bossed by a cat. Gets lazy when he's walking. He's like, carry us for a while. So I was like, your arms get sore because he's so big. So I've got the sling, so I can actually carry him like a baby up the driveway, because the walk's a few kilometres at times. So it's lovely having a cat that you can carry like that. Anyway, back to it. Well, I don't want to get too far off track. So I loved animals. I love pets, and we've got this tithing. So I've got this 2 and 2 coming together, and I'm trying to think about it. And for the last couple of days, I've been really umming and ahhing about where can I put my money. And I was like, well, I can't put it in churches at the moment. As much as I would like to, I can't. We are separated out of the world. Not only separated out of the world, like just look. If I had to be honest, I think the CEO of Planet Earth at present is Ronald McDonald. And I think the Matrix should be called a circus. And I think the majority of characters in that circus are clowns. And everyone's walking around with face paint and makeup on at the moment. Egos. And I'm sick of supporting clowns. What is a board meeting? A board of clowns, trying to direct an operation. No, there's no ringleaders. It's just clowns, right? And I'm not trying to be rude. It's just, it is what it is. It is what it is, what it is, what it is. And so I obviously, that, as rude and crude as it sounds, like there's compassion with it, but there are so many clowns on earth at the moment. It is hard to pick and choose and wean out who you would want to support and who you would not. So there is a supporting issue. So because for me, you're not going to just unconditionally I mean, no, you're not going to unconditionally give. You're going to give with terms. I am sick of entitled people receiving things that they believe there is a right to receive. No? You're going to earn your keep. No one's earned their place within society anymore. They haven't paid their dues. Just adult children with bad attitudes and loud mouths. Right? So I've had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. It's like, well, I don't want to support the church. I'd like to. I'd have to start my own church. And I was like, or do I start my own non-for-profit? And I was like, not now. And I'm like, so I've been contemplating, been asking the Lord, and I was like, Lord, where am I going to tithe? And it wasn't until I figured out where I was going to tithe on this fine rainy day today, because I'm having a day off, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that walking machine that I've got to the animal shelter. I'm sure they will always have a need for something like that, because especially when it rains, they can't take the animals for a walk. At least they've got a way to make them exercise. And then the next thing hit me, and I was like, well, golly gosh. I might not like humans, but I like animals. I love pets. You know? My environment, my life has a very healthy environment with animals, wildlife, pets, livestock, everything. There is a balance, and it works. I've got a really cool ecosystem happening. On the hill, look, the cockatoos, and I've got the gangs, and I've got the galahs, and I've got the rosellas, and I've got the parrots, and I've got the kookaburras, I've got the peewees, and I've got the magpies, and I've got the currawong, and they all get along because I look after them. See, I feed them with the chickens, and I put diatomaceous earth on their food and worm them, so they're not wild anymore. So all the animals in my life are tame to one extent. They're not trying to peck each other's eyes out to get food. They're not full of worms, full of hunger. And so for me, like, you got the pets, and then the chickens look after Amirati, the cats look after the chickens, Tank looks after me. Like, there's this environment, and we all have our place. And I was like, I really like animals. And it's just like, I could tithe to the animal shelter. Boom. Isn't it funny? I was like, well, goodness gracious me, doesn't that make sense? And I was like, I could actually do that regularly, and it would not bother me one bit. And so I went to a place called Big W this morning, and I was like, well, if I'm going to tithe, I'm going to do this right. And I went and got a load of dog biscuits for them. And I was like, how easy is it to go, well, I might not want to support humans at the moment, but I can definitely look after animals in shelters with food and bedding and clothing and toys and flea treatment and all these other things. You can spoil an animal to death. Yeah, it's fantastic. I don't know who else is doing it, but I know that it's a worthy cause to be able to just, you know, give back to and know that it counts. And I know for a fact that Tank was in there for 6 weeks, and he came back fat, dumb and happy. They wormed him, they vaccinated him, they microchipped him, they did everything. And I was like, so it could just be that this is something that happens here and there, and it'll be a part of my tithing rounds. But today I'm about to go up and put a trailer on my vehicle. I'm going to load that treadmill. I'm going to go into that rescue centre, and I'm going to give them a load of dog biscuits. It's all pedigree, it's all good stuff. But yeah, I've got one for pups, I've got one for little breeds, I've got one for big breeds, I've got one for cats. Wow. And so, like, they've got a hefty little gift coming. Now that gift, ultimately for me, it repays what I should have paid. So I'm kind of like returning a debt. But it begins something for me, because, you know, I haven't been... See, when I had social media, I found ways to do tithing quite easily. But since I haven't been doing that, I've had to figure out how can I reinsert myself back into not society but life a little bit, and find ways to give back where I find meaning. So I'm going to pull this up now, but for me, tithing is acts of random kindness and gifts for others that have meaning and value. Acts of random kindness in the form of gifts for others that has meaning and value that allows them to move into the next step of where it is they're heading. It's support. And if 10% of what we had was put towards supporting through gifts to worthy causes, worthy people, worthy things, the heavens would be open to all of us. What God is saying with tithing is going, I want you to be good at giving mighty presents, but just decipher, be discerning who you give them to. So, for anyone who's been contemplating, well, how do I tithe? What is a tithe? How is it a gift? I think you will have grabbed it through the story that you've just received there. But God wants you to take 10% of what you have and stop being a tight ass. If you use someone's vehicle, put fuel back into it. Like, stop using people and not giving back into return. See, I'd never had that problem. If I use a vehicle, I always put it back. Like, I would never put anyone else out. But like, beyond any of that, who we are as a human, 10% of what we have, God is saying, give to people. Just give. You may see someone that, like, you know, here's another example. This has happened many times. I've been at shopping and someone was using food stamps. I just waved my card. Have a good life. You know? Where people are in need, how can you make their burden a little bit lighter? The gift of giving, it is fascinating, but if you really want God to open up the heavens for you, give. Giving is living. Start to give as gifts to whoever you can think of with 10% of what you have. Not because you feel like it's an obligation. I mean, it would be lovely if it was to the church, but it can't be to the church at the moment because it is corrupt with satanic actions. So this is between you and God. Allow God to guide you where you give your gifts. But start to think about this weekly or fortnightly or monthly. How can I take 10% of what I have before anything else? And like, for some of you, like for me, that's a huge chunk. Like, I could start my own non-for-profit with that and may do it. But at the moment, because, you know, I've got enough on my plate as it is, there's going to be some pretty happy campers that receive what it is I've got to offer. So, if you know, we're talking about like purpose, we're talking about direction. You've got what brings the income in, but how you choose to disperse your tithes may just be where you find your purpose. I'm going to leave it at that. Have a really good day. And look, I'm sure they're going to be happy. And if they're not, I'll just bring it back and put it in my shed. But that's what I believe to be tithing. And I think you'll find your purpose in how you choose to give 10% of what you have. Adieu.